selling with authenticity.
It's building that relationship.
About the value.
Because you want to make that impact.
It can make you happy.
Elevate others around
Welcome
us.
to the Selling from the Heart podcast, your home for authentic, effective, and socially integrated sales strategies to help you master the art of selling. Join your co-hosts Larry Levine and Daryl Amy, along with some of the world's best sales thought leaders and practitioners, as we explore ways to help you grow your sales.
Hello and welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Daryl Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Hey, nice colored shirt, by the way. Here we are. We're into Q4.
Q4.
Where the heck is the year gone?
It is. Oh man, it's gone fast, and it is now. We're in football season. It's the fourth quarter. It's time to get it done. We're just riding on the energy of the 2021 Trust Building Challenge. What an incredible time we had this past week. It was so amazing. All of the ideas that came out of the Trust Challenge. And really, Larry, I am more and more convinced that maybe the biggest number one obstacle or number one area of growth we have to up our sales results and fulfillment is growing in trust and the ability to build trust, or as you said, speed to heart.
Yeah, and we all know without trust, we know what slows down. And trust builds relationships. Trust also builds sales.
Yeah, it does. And by the way, if you happen to miss out on the Trust Building Challenge, no worries. We recorded everything. So whether you've got a computer, you've got a beta player, a VHS player, whatever you need.
Daryl, by the way, how come on every podcast you really start dating yourself?
Well, I
want
to make sure you feel comfortable, Larry. That's all.
On,
so, hey, if you go to 2021trustbuildingchallenge.com right now, you can get free access to all of the recordings. And it was fantastic. And I'm so thankful. Just a huge thank you to everybody who chimed in and made this such an incredible event. And what a great way to start off the fourth quarter. And I have a feeling some of these topics about building trust and if you will, the soft skills are going to be a huge part of our conversation today. But as we get started, first of all, if you're new to Selling from the Heart, welcome. You've joined a growing community of sales professionals that are dedicated to being genuine, being authentic, adding real value. We call it Selling from the Heart. And Larry, I just want to also begin the show with a huge shout out to our friends at BombBomb.
Yeah, every time, right, we get in conversation with Ethan Butte or Steve Passanelli, we always learn words from faceless communication to digital pollution. It never ends with these guys.
Well, and that's where we want to encourage you to do is two things. First of all, head over to Amazon and grab a copy of Ethan and Steve's new book, Human-Centered Communication. It's going to help you remove the digital pollution from your life and help you be less of a digital polluter yourself. And second of all, go to bombbomb.com/heart. If you haven't tried BombBomb yet, you got to give this a try. This is a great way to add a face to what is often faceless communication. And so check that out. You'll find not only 14 days free, but you'll also find resources to help you grow as a sales professional in your ability to rehumanize business. bombbomb.com/heart. That brings us really to the topic.
Hey, that was a great segue.
Thank you, Larry. We specialize right here at Selling from the Heart in great segues. And it's a great segue to the team that we have about to join us to talk about what's going on right now in sales enablement and sales leadership. So as we invite this great esteemed panel and team in, Larry, why don't you introduce and give some context here?
Oh, well, where do we start with Jason and Amy and CJ? And I've always said you meet the greatest, coolest people in the intersection, what I call the digital world, right? It's that cross between what we do face to face and socially. And I've just grown fond of Jason. I've got to know Amy and CJ, and they're just going to bring a wealth of information. We're going to turn this around because normally I introduce them all, but I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and we'll dive right into this podcast. Jason, we'll start with you.
Yeah, well, hey, you know the question, Jason, so I'm going to set this up for our listeners because they expect this. Jason, as you introduce yourself, what does it mean to you to Sell from the Heart.
Well, thank you all for having me. And before we get into that, Darryl, I love your dating analogy here. So I'm going to fire up my laser disc player and get this thing going. With you.
Hey, Jason,
Now
you
we're
fit right
talking.
in because there's
that all right?
It's like it is because the last couple podcasts he's dropping 8-track and cassette. The guy rolls with an 8-track cassette player in his
That's
car.
all right.
Jason.
I got the laser disc in the back here getting fired up.
There we go.
You'll probably hear
Look
it
at
in a
my
second.
language.
Yeah, man.
Welcome, Jason.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, when you think about selling from the heart and you think about what that means, I reflect upon the past 18 months of the kind of the world we've been thrusted into with the pandemic. And now more than ever, being authentic, being yourself, being transparent and connecting with your customers is now more important than ever because we've become disconnected in a way because people aren't able to have those face-to-face meetings that they used to have. And let's face it, in the medical device world that we're in, a lot of those interactions are face-to-face. So you have to kind of up your game now more than ever, whether you're doing it digitally like we're doing now or in person, and giving people the skills to do that and build rapport and trust. Integrity is so important now more than ever. So that's my short answer.
Yeah, I just want to play on this for a second, and then Amy will go to you, and then CJ will go to you. Is in an organization the size of yours, Jason, how do you see what you just said playing out? I'm just curious.
It's been a bit of a ride. I've been with Abbott now for about 18 months, and initially all the sales training we were rolling out was done virtually. And I'll defer to Amy here in a minute, but when you're doing this virtually, it's hard to measure and connect with people to see if they're actually understanding it and really applying it. And we've started doing more in-person training now. We're actually doing one next week out in California. And we're finding that the in-person training, I'm seeing that like a sigh of relief with the salespeople now because they're starting to be able to connect again. And they're starting to look each other's eyes and say, hey, you know what, we're doing this, we're doing that. This is what works. This is what doesn't work. But also, let's face it, with what's going on in the country right now, everyone's been affected differently geographically. Certain parts of the country, like the Northeast, were hit harder. Down south in Florida, Texas, they stayed open, Arizona. So you're getting different experiences from different people. But at the end of the day, at the core, how you connect with people and build trust and integrity is still going to be number one.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Well, Amy, you're on next. What does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
Tough to follow Jason. Thank you guys for having me on today. Just an introduction. I'm Amy Woodard, and I'm based out of Boston, also with Abbott, and I've been with Abbott for about 9 years. And I'm on the commercial sales side as a regional sales director within our structural heart division. You're getting back to your question, around authenticity. I'll keep it simple. I think, having been in sales the majority of my career, you really, as cliche as it sounds, you just have to love what you're doing. And, customers, they see right through people that are selling and are not proud of their product. And, it really has to be a lifestyle to really eat and breathe and sleep. I know we do that with our product, and it's your love has to shine through for customers really to see that you're truly authentic.
Oh, I absolutely love this because you used the love word, which I absolutely adore, but you use the word lifestyle, Amy. And oftentimes it's selling from the heart. We'll always say authenticity is a lifestyle. It's not a light switch. It's not something that you just wake up in the morning and say, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to try authenticity. If it works today, I'm going to roll with it. If it doesn't, I'm just going to can it. So I love it. Love it.
Oh, that's good. This is so fun. All these different perspectives in one episode. So CJ, now, how do you top that? Ladies and gentlemen, CJ Thomas, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
Thanks for having me on the show. Those are fantastic answers. I don't know if I can top them.
You can.
But they're too
leaving
good.
you, CJ.
But what I can tell you for me is authentic selling means looking inside yourself and understanding what your personal values are, and then leveraging those with a message to come across to your customer in a way that seems trustworthy. And the reason why I talk about that is a lot of salespeople's values change over time for whatever reason. And I think that during that change, people need to reflect inside and pick these core pieces of themselves that the marketing messages will integrate with. And then when you go to your customers and you deliver something like that, you get belief. Your customers see you as competent and authentic. And both of those lead into trust. And what was interesting is that I was actually doing a little research before this, is that trust has more impact on the sales experience than fairness does.
It's so, that's such a great answer. And this right now is a really good segue into what we want to talk about today, which is sales enablement, where, we're in this hybrid environment. It's dynamic, as you were saying, Jason. It's shifting. It's different all over, not just the country here stateside. We have listeners all over the world. It's different everywhere. And at the same time, we want to enable our salespeople to be successful. And when you think about this, I just want to throw this question out. And Jason, this kind of dovetails into a lot of conversations we've been having together. But right. Where do you see, what are the pieces when you think about categories of sales enablement and what we need to be doing to equip our sales teams to be successful in this environment? What are some of the top level categories you think in as a sales enablement leader right now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I've been pondering that more often. I've been doing this for 14 years, right? And it's the environment has changed so much in 14 years. And when I think about now versus then, I think now the soft skills are so important. The conversational skills, how you do the objection handling, how you open the call with the customer, the rapport. I'm not so much concerned about the process, like the sales process, is it PSS, is it Challenger, what methodology are we going to use? It's more about giving them the skills to have the conversation, to interact with the customer. And we've spent a lot of time on that recently. How you tell the story, how you overcome the objection, and not in a negative way, but a positive way to have the conversation to get to the core of what's going on. And even for myself, I'm continuously learning, and I've had to shift the way I build out a curriculum for a sales enablement program, because the products are important, the positioning is important, but how you talk about the product, how you engage your customers, how you approach your business, I think it's more important than ever. And I don't even use the word sales training anymore. I use sales enablement, because I think at the core, it's more of a philosophical approach than just a cookie cutter approach.
That's excellent. We like to say, and I'm curious what the rest of you think about this, but one of the things we've been saying at the Selling from the Heart podcast is soft skills yield hard dollars. And, I think a lot of times, I'm curious what Amy and CJ think, but a lot of times in sales enablement, we're thinking about, those hardcore sales skills, the technology, the message, product training, all of that is important and critical. But it feels like without the soft skills around, like you were saying, CJ, with trust, you're saying, Jason, with conversation, that it kind of falls flat, or it's almost like it's the glue. CJ, what are your thoughts when you think about this?
Well, trust is linear. It takes time. So when you meet with your customers, you have to facilitate the start of the trust process. And the best way to do that is to be authentic. And it's funny, I was reading a study by Kim and Song. They were looking at restaurants, and the restaurant industry is very crowded, but they were looking at the marketing materials, and they were also looking at salespeople within the organization and, promoting the products. Well, what sales enablement has to do, and what I guess you can be mirrored off of this study, is that you have to give your salespeople tools for them to be perceived as authentic. So you think about the marketing materials, you think about the message. These are things that have to align with your sales reps. That way they can internalize it and in turn deliver it to your customers in a way that they perceive them as actually believing what they're saying. Because how many people, hear reps talk about something and you're like, this person's just a cookie cutter, or this message is clearly memorized, and it doesn't have that it factor. And I'd almost say that authenticity is that it factor these days.
It's so good because, on prior podcasts, we've been talking a lot about trust, and it's built in every interaction, every conversation, and it's built on that very first impression you make with somebody. And I like what you said, CJ, because I think it's through sales enablement. You can give them the tools and you can help them with the messaging to do two things that are near and dear to us. It's selling from the heart. And that's how well they connect with people. And that's how well they can relate to people.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to say the one thing that is also unique, whether it's with this group or what we do, in our daily jobs, CJ, I, and Amy, is that, CJ has just transitioned from he's been a sales rep for a number of years. Now he's in training. And then Amy has actually come in and been a part of a couple of our programs. So I think the perspective they bring also helps to give credibility to what we do, because again, let's face it, the way buyers buy has changed and the way sellers sell has changed. If we don't have folks like CJ and Amy giving that perspective, we're kind of shooting in the dark a little bit.
It's great, Jason. And just thinking about all of that, Amy, from the perspective of a sales leader, and working with the team and with clients and all of that, where do you see the gaps right now in sales enablement? What's missing? What's desperately needed?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, just from working with Jason and CJ, they do a great job sort of teeing us up. Mm-hmm. And, the reps in the field right now, especially within, our product that we're supporting, it's incredibly stressful. They live very, very stressful days and nights, long hours. It's not a 8 to 5 sales role. And, I think from the standpoint of what's missing, it's like that balance they can have. And, that's really where I come into play, is trying to create an environment, one where they understand that, of course we've got to get our work done, but more importantly, we have to have fun in what we're doing, and we have to be able to have a balance and have a life outside of work. I think that all of that plays into sort of their productivity of their day, and kind of all plays into that authenticity. They have to have balance outside of work too, which it creates it's just a tough balancing act. I think for the field these days, it's probably harder to be a salesperson now than I think it ever has been, with COVID and, just all the barriers that they're feeling on a daily basis. So long answer, but there's a lot that goes into it. And I think from my standpoint, I tell my team a lot, is my role is really just to remove debris out of your way. We have a team that they are the most qualified people and incredible at their roles, and they run their individual territories and their process. They're their little business within their little family of their group, and they just need me to kind of help shovel debris and trash out of their way as they run into obstacles. So it's a unique spot.
I just want to. I just have to ask Amy on this one, just because I'm really curious. If we go now, we're going to flip this around a little bit. If we look at this through the lens of your team, what's your team coming back to you saying, I wish you could help us with what areas? What are you seeing from your team that in turn you share with CJ and Jason? I'm just curious.
Yeah, good question. I think the biggest struggle that the team, if they were all sitting on this call, is just finding ways to, add that special value that sets you aside. You get such a small window of opportunity with these customers, and you have 10 things that you want to talk to them about, and you've got to be able to triage your needs and triage your discussions. So it's finding with Jason and CJ and their courses, they give us a million different ways to approach customers, and they're all so valuable. But I think the team, really, that's the one thing, is what are the top value add pieces that I can do for, this type of customer that's a struggle.
And I think to Amy's point, there was some data I was just reading from Gartner and Forrester, Serious Decisions, and what the one thing that buyers are looking for is insight and differentiation. They want a rep to come in and talk to them about something they didn't realize, and tell them how their product is different from anything else they have and how they can solve a problem. And I think in the space that we're currently in, we do that. But now how do we help the reps articulate that and keep the relationship strong?
Yeah, that's near and dear to my heart. I'm a passionate believer that buyers don't buy products and services; they buy the outcomes
Exactly.
those products and services deliver. And you're in an industry where the outcomes are paramount, right? And really being able to understand what the customer is wanting, whether it's a doctor or a administrator, or you've got all these different audiences inside that. It's interesting. I'm curious what your thoughts are, because I've been a big believer that one of the biggest or highest leverage things we can do to enable our sales reps is around that, what we might call business acumen, or really, we understand the product, but what about understanding the problem, the role of the people on the buying team. I'm curious, when you think about enablement from the perspective of business acumen, if I may, especially applied in your world, where do you see the opportunities for growth there, CJ?
Yeah, and I'll circle back to a term, competence. And if for sales enablement, if you can get your reps to be perceived as competent, that's going to go a long way, because competency leads to trust. Competency leads to new insights for customers. Competency means delivering the message in a way that the company intended. And for sales enablement, it's our job to get these people to a point where they can go out, they feel comfortable, but more importantly, they can do it in a way that customers actually respond to. Because I guess part of the training process, and I think about when I was a rep, is they'll put you through a round robin of stuff, and you walk out, and how much of it do you retain? Well, you retain what is close to you. So I know one thing that Jason and I have been talking about for 2021 is to build a comprehensive program, but to also keep in mind who's delivering the message. Because a lot of times organizations create a message that resonates with the customer, but you have to keep in mind that you have to create a message that also resonates with the sales rep. It is equally important because they are the ones that deliver the message. That's
a really good insight, Larry.
Yeah, no, and the first word that I think of as I was listening to what you're saying, CJ, is where does confidence? I'm just getting, when I think about competence, right? We want all of our sales professionals to be competent, to be able to deliver the message. But where do you see the confidence start to play out in this? Because I think they both go hand in hand.
That's a good point. Oh, go ahead, Amy. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I think from Abbott's standpoint, we've had to sort of regroup the way that we focus on our teams, and we sort of threw all these resources. We went from very limited resources because we were just rapid fire growth, and we're all really proud of that. But with that, we got resources, which is what we needed, out of the gate. But with that, we started having all these, programs, and the Jasons and the CJs added, and we've had to really define, kind of going back to your competence question, we've had to define swim lanes for every role. And we sort of threw everything out at everybody, and that was not productive. So, as we've sort of defined, okay, sales rep, your responsibilities are this, and this. Clinical specialist, your responsibilities are this and this, and market development specialist this, and then regional sales directors this. So everyone goes out within their day now. They can be competent because they know, A, B, C, and D are what I'm responsible for. It's not all these other, fluff in the ceiling that I have in my mind that's circling around. So hopefully that gives a little clarity kind of to what our strategy has been. We've really done a great job, and I'll give us a pat on the back, especially because Jason and CJ's team, just really sort of defining what is important for each role. That's been pretty impactful.
Yeah, I think I think confidence is when I think about confidence, think about a few things. There's always this quote that I show the class when I bring them in, and it's from David Albright. He's a performance coach, and I say, and it says, "Are you comfortable or are you ready?" Because they're not the same. And so everyone that walks in the room is comfortable. They sit in their chairs, they're good. But then if competition comes out, are they ready? And so being ready means they have the confidence to go out and sell the products. We're giving them the tools, the processes, the resources, everything they need to go out and execute. But that also comes with practice. And people hate that word, role play and practice. But let's face it, you have to do that in order to be confident, right? You have to know your message. You have to know your customer. You have to know who you're talking to. You have to know the environment. And I think all those things kind of point back to confidence.
Absolutely. It was so great. What an incredibly powerful insight. The insights coming out here. And I know our listeners, especially those who are sales leaders, you're taking notes. You're going to want to rewind this because there's some really, really good insights in here. I can't believe we're bumping up against the bottom of the hour on our time here. This has gone so quick. But as we wrap up, I just want to do a round robin here. And I want you to just think about what, as a sales enablement person, then there's lots of sales enablement and sales leaders listening in. I'm curious for each one of you, what you think the highest leverage skill or highest leverage value you can add right now in this environment as a sales enablement person. I'll also just put it for the salespeople listening in. What's the highest leverage thing you can add in order to accelerate your sales results as we look forward into Q4 and 2022 and beyond? Who wants to take that one first?
I can go first on that because I say this pretty often. Two pieces. You got to be patient and you got to be passionate. Those are two components that your customers should see every single day. And it's easy to say that, but actually doing it, and even myself, I struggle with it. You got to wake up and be patient and passionate, especially during the times that we're in right now, because they've got a lot going on outside of Abbott Structural Heart from a customer standpoint.
Great answer. Oh, I love it. Patient and passionate.
We just we all do things in three here. So I know Daryl's just like, Jesus, want one more piece. So you got to. So we have persistence, right? We have passion.
That's
we got to throw another P in there.
That's a really good insight. CJ, what do you think? If you think about the one thing that sales professionals and sales enablement teams need to focus on looking forward, highest leverage.
I'll do a hyphen answer because I got two things.
Okay, fair enough. That works.
So the first is make a reasonable ask, and the second is invest in the support structure. And that duo specifically for me is a lot of times organizations will go out and they'll ask their salespeople to do X, Y, Z. People need to take a step back and ask, is it fair? Have we set them up for success? And part of setting up the success for the sales folks is investing in training. So specifically, maybe not even just the sales process, but getting coaching, how to build authenticity from the start. How do I connect with my customers? These are soft skills that I think the industry is moving towards, and I think it's best practices. But if you can set up a formal program to do that, you enable your customers to be perceived as more authentic, which comes up as more competent, and then that leads to trust, and then you get your sales.
Yeah, high leverage. Beautiful. Jason, last and not least, highest leverage thing you think we can do right now that Amy and CJ
I'm always batting cleanup. That's all right.
Bring us home, Jason. Bring us home.
So authenticity at the core, passion and persistence. Like I said, I've been doing this for 14 years. I've been told no more than I've been told yes. Right. That's a part of the job, especially in sales training. It's a thankless job, and people say, no, you're not doing that. Okay, well, fine. I'm going to find someone that's going to say yes. And I think in particular in the med device world, authenticity goes a long way, especially with physicians, right? Physicians are taxed with a million different stressors, but being real with them is going to get you a lot of capital with them, personal and professional. And then again, the persistence, keep going, right? You just keep going. You keep pushing what you believe forward. So I think those are my three.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I love this. And just one last thing is there's no scientific proof behind what I'm going to say. It's just my sixth sense is I believe this. People smell authenticity. I think it's just a human trait that a lot of us have is they can smell if Jason or Amy or CJ is truly sincere and genuine in what they're saying. It's how it comes across. It's the tonality of your voice. It's, how your eyes are moving. It's how you're leaning into conversations. They can sense that, or are you just delivering the message? And that's what I love about this is because it all goes back to soft skills. This is a game changer moving forward in the sales world, my opinion.
Well, and I tell reps when they come into sales training, your credibility is your currency. It's not the products you sell and your number at the end of the month. Your credibility with your customers is your currency, because to your point, if you're not who you say you are, good luck getting back in front of that customer ever again.
What a great conversation. Hey, I just want to say thank you to all three of you for not only sharing your time and insight with us today. This has been really, really profound, but also just thank you to each of you for being leaders in the profession, of watching just the way you're going about this and the value that you bring and what you do. It's truly inspirational. So thank you so much for being who you are and doing what you do. It's incredible.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So good. So good.
What a conversation there. We had all these people in the
First
studio
time
today.
Hey, Daryl, first time
incredible.
ever, 3 people in the studio.
We'll have to do this some more, but this was really great in terms of just getting some real timely insight from some leaders inside an amazing company about where, what we need to be doing right now for sales enablement. And I think the things that we heard today apply to those who are listening in, who are in sales enablement or sales leaders. But I think these things apply to individual sales professionals who are listening in as well. This is it's a really good time of year to be thinking about, what do I need to invest in myself, my team, or my company to make sure we're set up for success in 2022 and beyond.
Yeah, and it's Q4, everyone's racing because it'll be year end and so forth. But we will tell you this is what you do in Q4 will set you up for what happens in Q1, in Q2, and well into 2022. Can you believe 2022 already? But
Yeah,
it's crazy. But soft skills, call it whatever you want around heart and sincerity and so forth, Daryl. This is the time it can't be brushed under the rug. It's been brushed under the rug in sales for way too long, and we need to bring the soft skills right up onto the business table.
You're absolutely right. And I think, we heard the phrase now more than ever several times during this conversation, but the reality is now more than ever, it is an interesting and challenging time as we're navigating through all of this as sales professionals. It's also a challenging time as people on the buying side, whether they're prospects or clients, are navigating through their worlds as well. And we're really, I think, more than ever looking for people that we can trust. And it was so interesting coming out of the Trust Building Challenge and then having this conversation today. I'm more convinced than ever that soft skills do yield hard dollars. And these are high leverage. Even the name soft skills seems squishy and, all that stuff. But the reality is with trust, backed by authenticity, and even we heard the L word, love, that's what begins to accelerate results. And we need that right now. It's an incredible source of competitive advantage.
No, I totally agree. Just one last thing, and we'll wrap up the podcast. We appreciate everyone listening. Is we talk a lot about heart and relationships, and here's what I want sales leaders and sales professionals to just latch onto for just a second. If we can bring this all in our personal lives, our challenge to you in Q4 and in 2022 is bring these same sets of heart and sincerity and relationship building skills to your professional life and to your clients, and watch what starts to happen as these relationships start to blossom.
So good. Well, thank you, everybody. Everyone in the Selling from the Heart community, we appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts. It's such an exciting time right now, seeing this movement of authenticity inside the sales profession. Thank you for everybody that joined us at the Trust Challenge. If you want to catch that, if you didn't make it and want to see the replay, no worries. Just go to 2021trustchallenge.com, grab the videos, engage with us. This is a critical time right now. Thanks to our friends at BombBomb for enabling us to rehumanize communication. Thank you to everybody who is leaving references on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen, wherever fine podcasts are sold. We appreciate you leaving a reference. That helps us spread the word. And until next week, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep adding real value, invest in soft skills to get hard dollars, and most of all, sell from the heart.